Welcome, everyone, to the Branded Podcast. My name is Ashley, and my partner is...
Sierra.
For all you fly fellas, I'll sing a cappella. Every time I hear your voice, Sierra starts in my head. Anywho, you are not Sierra, the multi-platinum dancing artist. You are Sierra, our... What is your title?
Chief Marketing Technologist. However, just as bad, I will say, and my name is phonetically correct. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Our resident baddie said it best.
And you are?
And I am the head of client relations. So thank you guys for joining us once again. We have a fun episode in our new series called When Good Brands Go Bad. And who's our topic?
We are discussing that baddie, that OG, that starlet of the 2000s, the one, the only, Lindsay Lohan, Lilo.
The original ankle bracelet herself.
You know? she made the 2000s, y'all. Like,
yeah,
it was her show and we were all just living in the world.
I mean, she was pre-social media doing the most.
Absolute most. You know, you had people like Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie, and they were living it up. Things were happening, but nobody was more infamous than Lindsay Lohan at that time. Her and her highlights.
It's so true. Oh my God. Who was her stylist? We need to be interviewing them. You're like, what were y'all going through?
It was a time.
But
it was a time.
Yeah, I mean, I loved every moment of it looking back.
Oh, for sure.
She did some shocking stuff. She really did. I mean, she's still the OG baddest of the bad, but would it have been as shocking now? Like, I feel like everyone on social media is like trying to compete with her. But you'll never outdo her. You won't, because she's so talented though. So let's take it back to there.
Let's start at the very beginning and what the brand that she created from the get-go, which was Disney. You know, like so many that are here today, so many that came before her. Disney the machine, she got into that. And The Parent Trap was like her big thing in the very beginning. She did the British voice. Whether you loved it, whether you hated it, she did it. And she branded herself as a child actor that was a talented child actor. She showed up, she worked, she did what was asked of her, and sometimes, you know, even exceeded that. So you have a very talented child who made a name for themselves in the industry very early on, you know? What do you think about that? What do you think her brand was specifically?
I think that she was like a child actor that was more talented than we'd seen. And like, she was our generation's most talented child actor. Because we had the Olsen twins when we were little, but someone on our age, we didn't have. Like, I feel like it was like, there's obviously always Shirley Temple. And like each generation has like a child actor prodigy. And I feel like she was the female one, in my opinion. Like, I know that there was like Olsen twins and Macaulay Culkin. They were like the 80s and early 90s of that. And then like the late 90s, mid to late 90s, like we had her. And then, I mean, we also had like Shia LaBeouf, who also is very good brand gone bad. Still hasn't made his comeback yet, but we've seen his linear also. Yeah, I mean, he's done some amazing stuff and he's raw talent. There's just the same. But like, I feel like she was our like female generational Shirley Temple there, because she was still to this day, she's still a very, very good actor. And she's still one of the funniest SNL hosts I've ever seen. Like, she's just raw talent. But all of that got marred by all the other drama. But yeah, when it started out, she was like a very good child actor.
I agree with you. And I think that was her. She had the red hair, you know, and I think the big thing about her was she had red hair and freckles, and that kind of was her brand. She was just this cute little red-haired, freckled girl who could do pretty much anything. You know, they cast her in a lot of commercial. I think she did a lot of commercial work before she became more of a film actor. It's really interesting that you bring up, you know, Mary-Kate and Ashley and things like that from prior to her being a star. I think, if I'm not incorrect, I think they might be the same year. I think they're both 86. I think they are. However, Olsen twins obviously started way before Lindsay Lohan. Like, they were in diapers on television. And there's a huge benefit to being twins because a lot of companies want to hire twin babies so that you can have them on set more. Twin up to like 6, you know, because you can switch them out a lot. But for her, I think that the allure was that she was unique with the red hair and the freckles. Even in her family, I think she's the only one with like red hair and freckles. Like, her sister's dark haired, her mother's blonde, and
true.
Yeah, you know, and I think she might have a brother also that is not red haired. I'd have to double check that though. But it's like, it's sweet. There's not that many. Like, I couldn't really name you any other redheaded actresses. I mean, you have Bonnie Wright from Harry Potter, but she's British, and so and she had a very small part in that huge franchise. But it's like, other than that, there's very few that I can name from that time period. So just being sweet with red hair, I think, made her stand out a lot. And so branding in that way, and because you also had people like Evan Rachel Wood, I think, was in that time period too, but she was blonde. She was a little more edgy, and she was doing like more edgy material. Kristen Stewart also, I think, was in that time period, doing things like The Panic Room and stuff like that were like more edgy. But Lindsay Lohan was wholesome. She was sweet. She was, you know, like a little redheaded angel sort of thing, I think, was her whole situation. And so it's really interesting how that was her beginning brand to me, just like this wholesome Disney child. And she kept that for a fairly long time. I think up until around 15-ish, maybe. And that's, I think, when she started doing like Herbie and Fully Loaded and Freaky Friday, which we were talking about.
Yeah, that's when Freaky Friday. Yeah. And well, the thing about her too that you're hitting on is the fact that she was already, like, she was a Disney kid, but she was already a movie star. Like, as a child, she was a movie star. Like, she was like Macaulay Culkin level. You are a movie star, though. And that was a lot to put on her, obviously. Like, she was, so she was the one that was like everybody's press darling, you know? So she was already, like how Drew Barrymore had so much exposure as a kid, you know? Like, hearing her stories, it's just like, oh yeah, like, no wonder you were exposed to all of that. Like, you were already being treated like an adult, like a full-on adult. And so by the time she was 15, like, trying to segue into like teen pop blockbuster movies. Also, Amanda Bynes, that's another one that was so enormously talented. She was the Nickelodeon version of Lindsay Lohan, and trying to segue into these like blockbuster teen pop movies like She's All That and stuff like that. And like, they worked, but you could tell like something was going on under the surface there of like, this young woman is now getting lost in the mix of like, I have to keep being a movie star that like I never got a life outside of this. This is this now. So everything you want to do that's normal is now getting scrutinized, and then you just take it all the way the other direction. And unfortunately, Mean Girls was like the last thing of her at her peak before it all went out of control, in my opinion, I think.
I would agree with you.
But she was so iconic there. Like, her performance was just unbelievable.
Nobody can beat Katie Heron. I mean, that whole cast is insane. Like, it's just insanely good. It was the perfect casting. And like, she just played that part so well, which is ironic though, because I don't know if you heard the story, but she went out for Regina. Like, she wanted to be Regina, and she ended up just being Katie because they cast it that way. And I don't know that I could see her as Regina. Like, I could, but Rachel McAdams just made that role so iconic. Like, they were both so iconic in their roles and in the way that they portrayed them, that it's like, yeah, I don't think that she should have been Regina. I think she should have been Katie. But yeah, I think that was also one of her last greatest hits there. She did some stuff after that, but it's kind of when her brand started to go bad. It's just, like you said, you have these children who are put in these positions of power, and they become the breadwinners for their family. And for her, I do think that she had a lot of sense. Like if you watch some interviews of her from that time period, you know, she was talking about when they did Britney Spears' interview, and you know, like Diane Sawyer, I guess, was kind of going in on Britney Spears, and they were kind of asking about whether or not she knew that she was getting a divorce, or somebody, I think it was Britney Spears, but they were asking her whether or not she knew about the divorce that was happening between, I guess, Britney and K-Fed or something. And she was like, oh no, I didn't know about it. And she's like, well, it's really not even my business to know, you know, because it's not your business to know. It's not my business to know. It's like, it's their business. They'll handle it. And I thought that it was so mature of her. And I was like, girl, she's got some sense. But I think the fact is that you also are just given so much freedom. You know, you're given too much freedom at that age because you have these positions of power, because you have the money. And she just was just like, but I have the money and I have the all the things that I need to do whatever I want, so I'm going to do it. Like, why not? And I think that also comes to you having good people around you, making sure that those people, like we talked about Taylor Swift and her team being around her and letting her have that space to grow, but not kind of veer too far from her brand. But I think Disney has such a hold, and Selena Gomez has talked about this a little bit in her documentary and whatnot, but they have such a hold on you to where it's very, I guess, debilitating, and people feel the need to lash out afterwards. Or not lash out, but just like overcompensate for the lack of control that they had while they were under contract with Disney. So I do feel that that happened with her.
Yeah, I mean, with Miley, I know that she had an interview where she was talking about how, like, somebody leaked a schedule from when she was in Hannah Montana, and her day started at 4 a.m, and it showed all the press junkets that she would have after filming. And so she had more than, like, it was at least a 12-hour day. And she, like, someone asked her about an interview, and she's like, yeah, so they, like, they gave me coffee. Like, they were giving me coffee at 4 a.m. I'm 13 years old. Like, you know, it's just, you don't really have a chance at that point. Like, so many things are out of your control when you're at an age where you want control and boundaries. Like, you're craving boundaries. You're craving, like, that you're setting on your own, not people just dictating to you all the time. So yeah, that definitely happened to her. And I think post Mean Girls, when she was such a talent, but she was also like becoming a sex symbol in a way too, that it, like, so you're so talented, but you're also a sex symbol. So you get this whole like Angelina Jolie complex of like, how do we even write parts for you? So I think that was happening to her too, where like no one knew what to do with her either. And all she was now was just a celebrity. And that was like that first ushering of celebrities just for being celebrities. Because that was when she started falling in with Paris Hilton and running around with Britney before Britney had all of her other personal issues. Like, but at that heyday, they were all just celebrity for the sake of celebrity. And it was right before social media. So they were the constant press tornado. And none of them were really working at the time. If you look back, these people weren't working. They didn't have any projects in the canon. And then that was around the time that the Kardashians started getting so big as well. So yeah, like when I look at what happened to her, it's like, yeah, people just didn't know what to do with her. And then the way that we have media and the way we're obsessed with brands, we just pushed her into obscurity that way. Like, everything that we loved about her, we kind of took from her at the same time.
I can see that. I also think that it's a weird thing that happens, though, too, for girls in particular, especially girl child actors. It's like as they approach 18, they get sexualized, like overtly sexualized. And I think that happened to her specifically because she did develop also, like, Lindsay's not a small-chested girl. She was out there, and she was wearing, you know, kind of thinner spaghetti strap sort of things. So it's like, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, where would you want all those sort of bits? But attention is going to be given, especially when you're out clubbing and you're doing, you know, XYZ in the public eye. It's like, you know, so you're attracting that sort of attention as well. And so her being out there and portraying herself in that sort of way really did sexualize her and brand her in a way that was way more sexy than it needed to be, kind of, because she had this brand of good, wholesome girl in the beginning, and people already being uber fascinated with the transition of a child female to an adult female. It's like it just sold that branding for her, and so she became rebranded in this way. But she's still working for Disney. You know, that was still the time that she was still putting out things like the Herbie Fully Loaded, like Freaky Friday, Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen. Like all these things were still kind of that time period while she was developing and doing these things and going out with Paris and Brittany and all of them. And it's like, I don't think it was an intentional rebrand, but it was a rebrand. And it kind of started to steer her towards that downward spiral because, like you said, none of them are working on anything super substantial. Like she was working, I think, but it was these movies that didn't really do well. Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen, I don't think did super well. Herbie Fully Loaded, I don't think did crazy well. I think it probably was like mid at the time. It might have been bigger, but I think it was mid. I have the remembrance of it being mid. And it's just, I don't think that it helped her in branding herself as a serious adult actress. You know what I mean?
No, it didn't. Yeah. And like, then it seemed like there was really no place for her. And like, you know, she pulled herself off in comedy with Mean Girls, but at the same time, you look at that cast, Amanda Seyfried, I think went to Mamma Mia pretty soon after that. And, you know, and then she went on to Les Mis and all those things. And then Rachel McAdams wasn't really ever doing comedy roles. Like that was around like the height of Notebook time and all of that for her. So it's sad to see everyone else in there kind of find their place. And it's like, what happened here? Why did she go into that other direction? And it was because of just her image and all, like no one knew where to put her. And she was having trouble being seen in different light because of just the way that we treat young, attractive, voluptuous young women, you know, like they didn't know what to do with her because she wasn't just your typical white blonde like the other two.
I agree with you on that. But I also think, I think around that time also was when she started to have issues, like legal issues. Because I remember she got like the DUI and she was going to, you know, court a lot. And so you become a liability for the studios also. So it's like if they can't trust that you're going to show up, that you're not going to do something that will cost them money, it's like they don't really know how to place you, or just don't want to place you because they don't want to lose money on you. The whole point is to make money with studios. They want guaranteed ways to get their return back. And if you're messing around and constantly getting in trouble for stupid things, you know, drug use, alcohol use, anything like that, you're a liability. And the insurance doesn't really cover stuff like that for the studios. So I think that played a huge role in continuing to do this rebranding of her as not even just a bad girl. Like, bad girl was when she was just doing the clubbing. Like that was like, you're bad girl, you know, like you're so sassy. But this was, no, these are serious issues. You're dealing with court systems now. Like you're not just a bad girl, you are a potential felon. Like this is going to go on your record, you know.
We love when it goes to potential felon.
It's so sexy.
19 felonies, no convictions. Like,
couldn't make it stick.
Yeah. I've never been to prison. Okay. I feel like this is around the time of the iconic list too. Not to detour, but
please tell me about this.
I mean, sometimes being bad is good. Okay. And also, she was the first that was being really open about her clubbing and where she's going and who she's going out with and all those things. So it was like just scandalous. So I think you're saying with the studios, it was going to bring too much to their doorstep at the time of like, what is going on? And are you being problematic with some of these actors? Like, can you not be cast with certain people? Is someone not going to want to work with you because their wife is going to get mad? Because the names on the list that came out during this time are very, very edge of my seat. Like, to start, we know some of the ones that are on here, like Wilmer Valderrama. We knew that. We know. But Heath Ledger is on there. God bless him.
Wow.
Evan Peters, he was young then.
Yeah, he wasn't like a baby.
Weird. I think they're the same age, or he might have been a little younger than her. Because he's definitely in his 30s now.
I don't know. I know he dated Emma Roberts.
Oh my God, they were a thing. They got in trouble.
They did get in trouble.
Justin Timberlake is on here.
I could see it.
And after the Britney book, I believe it. Colin Farrell, totally jealous of that one. Joaquin Phoenix, random. James Franco.
I mean,
and Adam. So he was the lead in like everything at the time.
James Franco?
Yeah, at that time.
I remember Pineapple Express, which I'm not sure that those two times overlapped, but I remember that. And what else?
When was Tristan and Isolde?
Oh my God, I love Tristan and Isolde. I do love Tristan and Isolde. This was before he was problematic, though. Yeah, let's be clear. Yeah. He was not problematic at this point. He was just hot.
Yeah.
That's it.
That brand hasn't turned around yet.
No, that brand is still gone bad.
Not now. Yeah.
It's gone sour at this point.
James Franco. Jamie Duran, Zac Efron. He's a sweetheart, though. We forgive him. Adam Levine, that's nasty.
But he cheated on his wife, so.
I know, when she was pregnant.
Yeah, dirty.
Lucas Haas.
Lucas Haas? From Witness?
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't think she could have been on any set at this time. Like, she is, every studio, every set is not safe. Jeez. So, yeah.
I don't think they're in the same age range.
It goes on.
Lucas Haas and Lindsay Lohan? I don't think they're in the same age range.
It's in her handwriting.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've heard about this list, though, so it's interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, do what you do, girl.
So, I mean, if this was a buffet that clearly she had access to. All that's missing on this is, like, Javier Bardem for me. Like...
I can see it.
We always got to take a trip around, the Spaniard areas if it's my list, and the old Narcos cast. But see y'all later. But yeah, anyway. Yeah, don't look into my old DMs. Yeah, God bless her. That era was just rocky for her. And you could see, yeah, you're totally right about like why she was just a straight up liability, and that's not good for your brand. Where it's like God bless Demi Lovato, like, but no one is giving an insurance rider on a tour for her right now.
I mean, well, right now I'm not sure. Like she, we could do a deep dive on her as well, because I think that she's kind of recovered, but she's kind of recovered. But for Lindsay, I think because her exile essentially from Hollywood lasted for so long, like she went to Greece and she instead bought a bar club thing, and she was like doing that forever. And it's the
iconic dancing.
The iconic dancing. That's that time. Which, live your best life, Lindsay. You were having fun. Like, get it, girl. But that's when that came out, and it's like so. But she was gone for so long, and she was doing all these things abroad. She was in Dubai, I think, for a good while as well.
Where she met her husband, yeah.
Where she met her husband, and it's just like, so she suffered, just, you have this person who built a brand. They were known as this thing. It's kind of all they ever knew, because she was a child actor, so it's kind of like all you ever knew. You didn't have like a normal job. You didn't work at Jamba Juice. You didn't go work, an intern at the LA Times so that you could have a normal job after this. It's like that one thing that you knew was taken away from you. And I mean, luckily for her, at least she pivoted and tried to do something different and tried to be known for something different, because they had that MTV special about working for her at the club bar thing. Did you watch that?
Oh, I never watched it, but I know that they did that. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, was it good?
That's where the clip came from, the dancing thing. And
Oh.
Like, it was what it was. It was not, you know, it wasn't riveting television, but it was like any of these other kind of Love Island sort of situations or whatever. It was mild, you know, it was that. It was that, essentially. Having to just totally pivot, it's like, you're rebranding. You're rebranding when you do that. I don't know that everybody bought her as that. I think that people did have a hard time, because just like we said with Taylor Swift, you stick to your core brand and you're okay. You know, you stick to your core brand and your main demographic will continue to follow you, because you're still putting out the thing that they're used to, the thing that they're familiar with, the thing that they know you for. And just totally right angling that and going and doing a club. To be fair, she was clubbing a lot in the early 2000s, so I think maybe she thought that people would be like, oh, it's the same thing, you know, she's still just clubbing, she likes the club, that's why she bought a club, it makes sense. But it's like, I don't think people loved that side of her, so they weren't super gravitating to the fact that she owned a club. And it wasn't until, you know, she did that Oprah special a couple years after that, where she sat down with Oprah and really did a deep dive on her life and kind of where she thought that she, you know, quote unquote, went wrong, because it's not necessarily wrong. You just made a choice in life and you just have to deal with the consequences. But I think that was really where her brand started to turn back around a little bit. Like, people started to see her, because everybody loves an underdog. Everybody loves a second chance story, especially in America. They love for you to fall, and then they want you to pick yourself back up. They're there for that.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that's where they started to see that for her, and that rebranding coming back. Like, I know that I was a little wild. I know that I was doing the most sometimes, but I'm more stable now. I'm, you know, ready to get back to work. I'm ready to be the person that you thought that I was before. So I think that's where it really started to turn for her. And
yeah, I totally see that. Yeah, I think that is exactly what we like identify with as far as brands. Like, we need, like, the American culture is like so obsessed with humanizing everything. Like, we want to make some skyscraper, like, we make a skyscraper out of everything. We have to make it the biggest and the best, and like, it has to be so unattainable. And then once we make it, we're like, we're like, oh, okay. Like, we're bored with it, until we're like, oh, it needs to like connect to me. But we're so obsessed with making these larger than life things. Like, we're obsessed with celebrity. Like, we make celebrity. We want to see the overnight success story, the person plucked out of obscurity who's now everything. But then they get so big, and then we like hate on them, and then we're like, the only way we'll love you again is if you have some human story that makes us be okay with the fact that you're rich, or we'll just hate you because you're rich. Like, and with her, that's exactly her trajectory of how we've come to accept her again and build her back up, and, you know, have her in demand again. But the demand is for her brand. The demand is like the still core memory of her. And that's why when she came back in a cutesy Hallmark movie, because that's what we want. We, like, at the end of the day, they don't want to see her come back as like Black Swan. They want to see her in like the Lindsay we grew up with and know and love. Like, we want to see her doing well. And so I think she smashed that movie. Did you watch it?
I did watch it. And I mean, I will say this. I'm a fan of anybody's movie if you name the main character Sierra.
Shows you got some damn sense.
Yes, and it was phonetically correct. It was spelled properly. So, that I really
don't come for me with the letter C.
Don't come for me with a C. Please, like, if you want to be friends, never approach me with a C era. Yes. So yeah, I saw it, and I thought it was cute. I went through a really maybe like deep 5-year period where I was very into Lifetime Hallmark movies. So, ooh. Like, yeah, like in high school, I was so into, they're very it's a very formulaic type of movie production, and but I was also really into the Sci-Fi Channel when I was like in high school. So I mean, grain of salt here, but it was like that and Lifetime Hallmark were my jams. So that type of formula I find endearing now, and it's like, you're right, it's It's heartwarming. It's a bit cliche, but overall it's cute. And that's why they make so many of them through the year.
Mm-hmm. They always serve a purpose. They always just are a good little dopamine hit, and that's what people want from her. Like that's what they associated with her as a child. So like that's where she shines. And I feel like she knew the proper route to make her comeback. Mm-hmm. And also, she's a very modest woman now. Like, she does have a modest husband. Like they follow like modest culture. Mm-hmm. Like it's not in the sense of they're wealthy. Like, they follow modest like cultural norms and societal ways. So she like even made boundaries for herself. I remember reading that like she has in her contract that she doesn't have to kiss her male counterpart because she doesn't want to disrespect her husband. And things like that. So, like, I love seeing that version of Lindsay. So some people, they might think that's extreme, but it is the best for her. You know, she was craving boundaries. She was craving normalcy and boundaries within that of a normal life. And it seems like she's really finally found one. And it took her going away to find it. And like literally going overseas and finding another culture that didn't rip her apart the same way that ours was doing. Mm-hmm. And so for her to come back on her terms and produce something that's just joyful, I think has opened the door for her to finally get into those roles that she wants to do whenever she wants to do them. She doesn't have to work like she was worked as a child either, though.
Yeah, which is always good because she was worked quite hard as a child, and that's when her whole family issue comes into play again. Building a brand, whether that be as an actor, as a model, as a musician, as a business, as just whatever, have good people around you. If you come from a family that may not acclimate well to fame, and a child's never going to know this, like, that's on the parents, honestly. If you're a child actor, you're never going to really know how your parents will take you becoming famous. But even maybe for like the managers, the agents, the people who are involved in her rise to fame, it's like you always know, like behind the scenes, everybody always knows like when a parent is problematic and they're like, I have to deal with this parent. If you saw Honey Boy with Shia LaBeouf, it's that kind of thing. And it's just, everybody knows all the time. So it really is the onus is on other people to step in and try and protect that child, but it very rarely happens. So if you are in this industry, maybe try and protect the children a little bit more. But yeah, she didn't have a good base. And I think that it's very important for people to focus on that when you're getting your businesses together. If you are older and doing this, that's a bonus, honestly, because you have less of a chance of falling into that trap. Maybe take a little bit more time, do a little bit more diligence, and make sure that you're choosing people to be around you that will lead you in a positive direction. And for Lindsay, at the end of the day, now that she's got this direction with her husband and the things that she wants to do, and she's writing it into her contracts and whatnot, I think what people find even more endearing than the fact that she's kind of going back to her old roots, like her main brand's roots, is that she's having fun. Like, she did that commercial for Planet Fitness, and that seemed like it was fun for her. Yeah, she did the Vogue, walk back through your looks thing. That seemed like it was fun for her. So it's like, people enjoy seeing a success story. And for Lindsay, I think that is her brand now. She's a success story. She's a child actor that did not succumb to the pitfalls of child acting. She survived. Yeah. She succumbed
Literally.
to a couple of the pitfalls, but she survived at the end of the day. And it's like, I would consider that to be her brand now. It's as a survivor.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. It's so nice to, like, I don't know, I love to see her doing good. Love to hear that she's a survivor, and she really is. And like, I think that for the series, it's really like applicable as we go through all these things that like a lot of the names we know and love and have grown up with, like how their brands have gone through and then come back, like to bring it back to what we do as a creative agency, like is always tell our clients to keep that core. Once again, like, what have we learned from this? Once again, like, it was someone who unfortunately didn't have the core set up. So when you are a brand, whether it's you as a brand, whether you are entering the industry as and going into the entertainment industry, or you're just starting your own business and you're dealing with being globalized on social media and stuff and how you're going to interact with your customers, just build your core. If like you have to have your foundation, or, you know, that's how you get pulled in all these different directions and you lose sight. And then who you were is not who you are anymore. And then your customers or the people around you or your fans or what have you, they just want to see the person that came out to begin with. So yeah, I love this series for that.
Samesies. Samesies. And I think that you really hit the nail on the head with that final point, because it's just, you can cut corners. Whatever your industry is, if you're in the entertainment industry, or if you are building a brand as in whatever industry that is, it's so important to not cut corners, not to go with the cheapest, not to go with the one who everybody's just raving about because they maybe get them more work or something like that. Talk to people, make sure that your values align. A lot of people skip that step and they end up with people who don't really have their best interest at heart. They just care about, you know, making the money. If we're selling you, like, you come and you want to have your brand kit done, your website thing done, or whatever, you know, some people will just be like, okay, here it is, it's done, bless you, go forth and do whatever it is, fly away, birdie. But it's like, no, you want people who are going to help you, maybe like tell you how to move that forward a little bit. Or if you get stuck, you have a problem, you don't understand something, you want to be able to call them and not feel like you're going to be a burden to them, they're going to overcharge you for something very simple. You know, you just want to make sure that you have these conversations up front, because a lot of people are afraid to communicate. And I feel like communication is 100% key. If you can't communicate to the people around you, then that's not a safe space. You don't need to be in that space. It's the same as not being able to communicate to your partner, to your family, to, you know, your cat, your dog, whatever. It's like, if they shut you out, if they make you feel weird about it, they're not the people that you should probably be around. You should be around people who want you to succeed in every aspect of that. And, you know, things are going to cost money. It costs money to hire people. It costs money to hire a creative agency. But at the same time, you save on what you might be losing out on in the long run, which for Lindsay's case was her sense of self, her sense of, I don't want to say common sense, but it was like, you know, she went a little wild, and that kind of was detrimental to her. But it's like, if you have people around you to kind of keep you grounded and sane and understanding what your end goal is and remembering what your end goal is you have a higher chance of success in that manner, and you won't spend as much time being exiled, having to pivot, having to, you know, engage in all of these extra things and potentially pay legal fees because of your actions. It's like, just
gonna be wearing the bracelet.
Don't be wearing the bracelet. I mean, it ain't cute. It's an accessory, but it ain't a cute one. So just
people are gonna think I have a bracelet. It's just a boot. It's a boot sash. It's fine.
You're at home, but you don't need to be there. It's not legally binding contract.
Electively here.
Voluntarily.
I'm having fun.
Yeah. This was a choice, not a mandate. So yeah,
no, everything you said is just so accurate and it's so true. And I feel like it just makes me have this idea of like, we love the survival story that we like went on the journey with Lilo with, but you would rather be evolving with your team than surviving your team. And it's, you just say it so well of like, here's why you don't want to feel all this, like you want to feel safe, like, and you know, it's a good learning lesson when we go through these series of how these brands went down and came back up, but we don't want that for you. We don't want you to
we don't want the down for you. So. We prefer the like, I don't want to say plateau, but just like an even keel, just an even keel, slight of upward situation. That's what we want.
A climb.
Yes. Subscribe. Follow. Do the things.